The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to the Metro MLS webinar on change listing. In this webinar, we'll show you how to edit your listings using the change function in FlexMLS that will allow you to access settings that apply to making changes in your listing. So let's begin. So to access your change listing screen, you're going to click on your menu button. Once your menu is open, underneath the Add Change section, you're going to click on Change. This will bring you to the change listing screen. The default for this screen is to show any listings you have that are currently in active status. So anything that you've got in active status will show in this box below. If you need to change to view listings of a different status, you can use this drop-down menu and select the status. You can also enter the MLS number of your listing and click Next to access the change menu. Easiest way is to click right on the list number here. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to single left click on my listing here. And this takes me into the change menu for this particular listing. So we're going to review the sections that you see here in the screen. So you see your options are in sections here. So we're going to start with the general section that you see here. So each of these lines, these little areas that you see here, these are buttons. So clicking on listing information will open you up to the tabs that you had when you were adding your listings. So in here, you can edit the information that you see the fields for. A few options are not available for you to edit after a listing goes live, such as like the listing date or expiration date. If you need assistance with editing a field that you no longer have access to, call our data integrity department and they will help you with that. So anything that you navigate here, you can change that information. And then once you've changed the information, you hit the Save Changes button up here, and that will update that listing. Just a note, some people always ask, oh, I accidentally put in, the wrong number of bedrooms or bathrooms or whatever. Once you make those corrections, the system is dynamic. Even email links that have been sent out within the last 30 days, if that incorrect information was sent out on a previously sent listing, it will update in those links that have already been sent out. So you don't have to worry about that. So that listing may drop off of some people's, be no longer available if the information that you changed falls out of their search criteria, or it may stay depending on that customer's search criteria. But just keep in mind, everything is dynamic and leads back into the live information in the system. So that information will update. All right, I'm just going to cancel here to back out of this. All right, so that was listing information. Next is map location. This is where you can edit the location of the listing pin on the map. So if the system couldn't find it, or it put it across the street or someplace that wasn't totally accurate and you want to move it, you can come here and you can adjust the map. So you can move the map around by holding down your left mouse button and dragging it around. You can zoom in or out using the plus sign is in, minus sign is out, or you can double left click down on an area to zoom in or use your scroll wheel. So once you get that listing where you want it to be, I'm just going to pretend like this is the place for it. You can just grab that pin by holding down your left mouse button, putting it on top of the lot and hitting use this location, and that will set the map location for that listing pin. All right. Next, listing selling members, it'll just list your name here, that's all. All right. Okay, next we'll go over to the price section here. So if you needed to change the list price, the current list price, you just click on this button. It'll show you the current price, and then here you can enter in whatever the new price is. Once you hit save, that is now the new list price, and it updates on the listing. We'll hit back. Okay. Next, showing you the status section. So the buttons, this listing is currently active, as you see right now. Currently active. So an active listing will have these buttons that you see here. So starting here, edit current status active. This is the button you would use to change a listing from active to active with offer or vice versa. If you needed to take the contingency off and make it back regular active, you can. So you do that by clicking on Edit Current Status Active. Here, this is the field that everybody missed. So this is important for you to select if you are adding a contingency to that listing. You click your mouse in that area and this with offer pops up. You select the with offer. Then you come down and you select the date that the offer was made and accepted. So I'm going to use today's date. Make sure you select the checkbox here and then you hit save. Hit save again to confirm. So now status is active with offer. If you needed to return it back to active, you do the same thing but in the reverse order. So you click on that same button. You come here. So for with offer, to remove the with offer, you click your mouse in that field again and select the blank space underneath the with offer to take that off. Then you remove the check from active with offer date. You save it again to confirm. So now we're back to active. All right. That's the one everybody gets confused. So next is extend or expire a listing. This is the button that you would use to extend the expiration date of a listing or to expire it out on midnight of the selected date. So let's say, for example, I wanted to expire this out at midnight of today's date. I could change this and choose today's date, and once I save it, today is the new expiration date and it'll expire it out at midnight. Oh, I have to choose tomorrow, I'm sorry, date, because it expires out at midnight. I'm sorry. So just for clarification, if I wanted this to expire out of midnight of today's date, so today is the 23rd, I would select May 24th, so it would expire out on May 24th at midnight. Okay, I'm just going to hit back. Here, pinned listing. If you need to put a listing in pending status, you would use this pinned listing under contract. That means that you are no longer taking showings on the listing. You're waiting to close. So to pin a listing, you click this button. You put the pending date. I'm just going to use today's date. Just verify if the expiration date is correct. And if you'd like to make any private remarks, you can. You save it. You save it again. And now the listing status is pending. If the deal falls through and you need to put it back on the market, pending listings will have a back on market button. So you click to put it back on the market if you need to. You click back on market. You choose the fall through date, which would be the date that the deal fell through and you want it to go back active. And then you hit save. Save again. And now it's returned to active status. This will go out as a back on market listing. All right. Next, if you needed to close the listing is sold, you're complete with the closing, you come here to close listing. You choose the selling member. So let's say the person that sold this member, I'm just going to type in Smith. I'm sure there's got to be somebody in here with this last name. So when you type in the person's last name or their first and last name, it will bring up a list of people. You just scroll down the list, look for them, and select them. Maybe the member that's selling it is from out of the area, another MLS, so we won't have them in our list. So if you ever have to mark a listing of yours as sold and the person is not in our MLS, in this case, you would enter in non-MLS. So when non-MLS comes up, you just select non-MLS as the selling member. Next, you select the sold date, the date that the listing closed, the sold price, you would enter that in, and just note these fields with the little red asterisk means that that's required for entry. Terms of sale, whatever the terms of sale was for that property. Transaction type is optional, but we do have that in there for you if you'd like to use it. Concessions. Were there any concessions made for that listing to close? In layman's term, was there a sweetener of $1 value added so they were able to sell that listing? Maybe they offered to pay $2,000 towards closing costs, maybe build a fence, replace the roof, something that had $1 value that was added to the sale. That, in a case like that, that would be yes, and then you would make the remarks here as to what that concession was. Next, you enter in the pending date that the listing went pending on. Then once you save it, that listing is closed. Now, let's say you close the listing and you needed to go back in and you realize you made a mistake and you need to go back in and correct it. From the date that you close, you have 10 days to go back in and make an edit to that sold listing. Again, within 10 days of the date that you close that listing. After the 10 days, you have to call our data integrity office to make any edits to a sold listing. All right, I'm just going to hit back. All right. Next is withdraw listing, temporary. Let's say your customer, there was a bad storm and your customer's got to do a repair on a window or something. So if a property is not available to show for 48 hours or more, then you want to withdraw that listing temporarily so whatever needs to be done can get done, and then you can put it back on the market. So if you need to withdraw a listing for any reason, but typically if 48 hours or more that listing is not available to show, then you want to withdraw it, and then you can put it back on the market when it's available. So to withdraw a listing, and we don't need anything from you, hit withdraw listing. You put in a withdrawal date. I'm just going to pop that in as today. You save it again to confirm. So now the status is withdrawn. So once you're ready to show the property again, you would come back to this status section and you would choose back on market active to make that listing active again. So here I'm going to, the fall through date, we've got that in there. We're going to put it back on the market. Take that out. Save. And so now it is back to active status. All right. That fall through date stayed in there from the last time when I did the other change. All right. Next is expire listing. If you need to expire a listing out immediately, meaning that as soon as you go in here, whatever date that you enter in, which would be the day's date that you're doing it, and you hit save, that listing would be expired. So if I wanted to expire this listing out immediately for today, so today is May 23rd, I select that, hit save, that listing is now expired. This works a little bit different from the extend or expire button. That expire and that function will expire out shortly after midnight using that of whatever date you selected. Expire listing expires it out immediately. All right. So I'm going to put this listing back active. So I'm going to put it back on the market. Alrighty. And I'm going to come save. Oops. I've got to correct my expiration date because I changed that. So I'm going to hit back and I'm going to make the expiration date back change it back to December 31st. All right. Save and save. All right. So we're back to active status. So that's the status section there. Okay. Next, we'll go over to the media section. This is where you can add media such as photos, documents, videos, and virtual tours to your listing. So photos, you can add an unlimited amount of photos to your listing. So if you've got 76 photos you want to add, you can load them all on. Keep in mind the third-party sites take up to the first 25. They don't go past that. They'll take up to the first 25 photos on your listing. So when you add photos to your listing, make sure the first 25 that you want to make sure are seen by the public, you have those in the list in order 1 through 25. When you email listings out of Flex or another agent emails listings out of Flex, whether manually or by subscription, all of the photos that are loaded to the listing are available on the Photos tab of their search results screen. So to add photos, we came in here. I already had a main list photo. So if I want to add more photos, I go Add Photos, and I'll navigate to where my photos are. I've got them here in a desktop folder called Class Photos. So I can just, if you want to pick them all, you can just click on the first one, hold down your Shift key if you're on a Windows machine, and then click the last one. Or if you want to cherry pick, you can hold down Control. Control allows you to cherry pick. I believe on Apple that would be the Command key. So I'm going to take all of them except for, yeah, I'll take that one too. So I've selected all of these photos and then I'll hit Open. So now the photos are loading. The suggested file size for photos is 5 megabyte. The system will take up to 10 megabyte size photos, but keep in mind the larger the file, the longer it takes that photo to load. And a lot of people look at these listings on their mobile devices. And, you know, being on your mobile device, whether if you're using your cell phone's network or you're using wireless, can sometimes not always, you know, be the fastest. So keep that in mind. Recommended file size is 5 megabyte or a little bit under that. The main list photo should always be loaded in standard landscape, not portrait, not panoramic, because that's the photo that is used for the data sheets in the system. And those squares for the photos, the placards for the data sheets, are only coded to fit standard landscape. So for example, if you loaded a portrait photo in there, it's going to stretch it out to make it fit landscape. If you loaded a panoramic in there, it's going to squish it together to make it fit that box. So keep that in mind. So once you've got your photos in here, you can reorder them either by just dragging them. You see the little 3 lines at that bar at the top there? You can drag it to the position that you want it to be, or you can just change the position using the number drop down. That's right here. All right. If you've loaded a photo and it's sideways, you've got the little arrows that'll spin it around to the right way if you need to. I notice that's something that happens a lot when people take pictures on iPhones. They look normal on their desktop or on their phone, but when they happen to come into the system, they turn to the side. All righty. If there's a photo that you want to get rid of, maybe you entered in a duplicate like this one. That's what the little garbage pail is for. And then the little arrow is where you can upload a replacement photo. All right. So that is the Photos menu. So I'm going to return to my Edit Listing screen. Next is Documents. This is where you would load your listing contracts, floor plans, seller condition, lead base paint, those kind of things. The only document that we require for you to add to your listing is the listing contract, and that is coded as a private document. So only you, your office's administrative account, and us here at the MLS can see that contract. All the other ones are public, except for the exclusive right to lease. Those are kind of like contracts, but so those were private. So to add a document, you hit your little choose file button here after you hit the documents button out on the change menu, and you navigate to the location of wherever that PDF scanned contract or document is. So I scan my contract as a PDF file and it's on my computer. So I'm going to go to my desktop and look for it. Oh, there it is right here. So I'm going to double click it to select it. Make sure if it's a listing contract, you have it tagged as listing contract. That tag keeps it private. If it's any other kind of document, you've got a list here of other documents you can choose from. Then you hit add. And the document is on your listing. Okay. And we'll return to the edit listing screen. Next, videos. You can add videos to your listing. They can be branded. To add a video, you need the embed link. And to add any video in virtual tour, it has to be hosted on another website, like a third-party site like YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. So I'm just going to open up YouTube and show you the embed link and how to put it in here. So I'm just going to navigate to YouTube. All right, and I'm just going to, we'll do the Celine Dion one. I like her. All right. Mute that. So if you've got your video hosted on YouTube, at the lower right corner, when you bring up the video, you'll see these icons down here. To get the embed link, you'll hit share. Once you click share, it'll bring up your options. You click the embed button. And this is what an embed link looks like. It has the chevron, iframe, and then all the rest of this stuff, and it ends with iframe and the chevron. That's an embed link. So that's the link you need for videos. So you'll swipe over that and copy all of that. So I'm just going to close out of this. Then to add it, you click Add Video. You can put in whatever you want to here. And then you come to this first box and you right click and you paste it. All right, so that's what it looks like. You go to the bottom, you hit Save Changes, and then there's your video. All right, okay. It's a little bit different than virtual tours. Now with virtual tours, the company that created your virtual tour will send you the link to that. That will start with an HTTP://. So that's a little bit different. So I'm just going to open up this button here. So this is where you would paste that link in for the virtual tour that your the company sent you. I've got one pasted down here. So those start with this, just like a regular web link, https://. Okay. So videos, chevron iframe, virtual tours, just like a regular website, https. So you would copy that, whatever they sent you in the email, and you would paste the link in here, and you could type in a description if you want to and hit next. So now your virtual tour is on the listing. All right. And lastly is the schedule marketing activities section. This is where you can add open house dates and you can disable showing time or access to showing time settings for that listing. So first we'll do open house. So we'll click on that. All right. So here to add an open house date, you click the add button. Now, open house, when you add those, is one date at a time. So, for example, if you were having one on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you would have to add each date in as its own open house. So let's say I wanted to do one for tomorrow. So we'll do that, and we'll start it from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. And then if you wanted to add any comments, you can. Then you hit next, and your open house date is on the listing. So open house dates are viewable on the details tab, and you'll see an open house link at the top where you see like report, tax info, documents, that kind of thing. That'll be available there. They also will go out as banners and email if the receiving agent has that set up in their account that way. All right. And they do get fed out to the third-party networking sites, those that do pull in that information. All right. And then lastly is enable disable showing time. Now, sometimes when you add in a new listing, this button isn't immediately available. It can take up to 15 minutes for the listing information to transfer from FlexMLS over into the showing time program. So if you happen to add it in and you don't see it down there, give it about 15 minutes time and then go back into the change menu of your listing, and typically it's there. If it's not, give us a call. So here, when I click on Enable Disable Showing Time, these are settings for this particular listing. So it's using my default global appointment settings. Maybe this is a vacant land and I wanted to make it a go and show instead of appointment required. Here is where I can select that to change that. Or maybe this is a home that I'm representing for a celebrity. So I don't want anyone scheduling appointments online. I want to get everything as a phone call. So if I wanted to disable the scheduling of this particular listing from not being able to be scheduled online, I can just set this to no and save my changes. So that showing time button is not accessible on this particular listing. All my other listings, it is, but on this particular listing, it is not, because I came into the settings for this particular listing. Okay, and then I can just close the tab and go back here. So this will conclude our webinar for the Change Listing menu in FlexMLS.